Hey, so we're back again with the Polyend play, and this time we're going to take those 4 blocks that we set up in the last video and then use this full row down here to make our song, because there's a nice feature on here called play chain. So we just go like that, and that's going to run through our entire song and let it run through. But there is a few nice little features that we're going to look at, mainly how do we mix on the play, some nice mastering tools that we can use to color our sound and just get a little bit more improvement. We'll actually use this as a way to plan our arrangement, and then we'll go into the process of fleshing it out and looking at ways that we can do some nice automations and transitions in here. So let's get straight into it. Alright, we're back with the Polyend play, and we've got everything set up from the last video, even that part B. So we're in a really good spot. We've got some loops ready to go, and we're going to fill out this row down the bottom here for our song. And then we're going to hook it up, so we hold shift and then we can play chain, because we can start from here and it'll just automatically go through, so we can hit play and let our sound run. But before we start getting into arranging, I want to talk a little bit about mixing, because mixing on the play, and it's kind of from my tracker experiences, it's good to get the levels correct in that pattern view straight away, because we only got 4 blocks here, and then when we start populating them down, they're going to start filling out. We have to go into individual ones, and like say we're doing the drum track and we're changing the master volume on 16 patterns, it's going to get a little annoying. So what we're going to do is just select one and jump out there, and we're going to have a listen to the pattern itself. Now, I've been doing this as I've been playing the song, but I have a mindset when it comes to the instruments, because like the tracker workflow, like the play workflow, having mastered the instruments or done the mixing in the instruments first, it's just going to make that process a lot easier moving forward. And the way I enjoy mixing goes from like picking the element I want most prominent and working my way back, because it's like if I was to just solo that and bring in elements, like I have certain levels at priorities. So for this one, I want that kick drum to be the most prominent thing. So what I can do is just select the entire track. So remember, when you select like this, it's going to select all the parts on that lane. And then I'm just going to adjust the volume, and I'm just trying to hit something around a good level. So it's kicking in a little bit too hard. And then usually I'll have like the kick as a priority, snare as secondary, hi-hats are tertiary, hi-hats and the snares are sort of hitting at that little level. So I just want to bring that down a little bit. Not too much. And now I want to raise the bass line, because I want that to be a little bit higher than the snare. And then maybe put this more in the background. So if we were to compare it to this one, it's a little bit quieter, but that kicks the most prominent part. So I'm just going to do that for these 4 melodies, and we'll get straight back into this video. Alright, so I've gone about and done that little bit of a volume adjustment, but I think this is a really good point to bring up now. I was going to save it for a little bit later, but this menu here, you hold shift and view, and this is how we can start adjusting the sound of the coloring of the final result. So right now you've got this limiter and you've got this saturation here and the sound itself. So we can start adjusting that color if we want to start getting there. So I've got it on flat, so it's just going to be, oh, that's done something. There's some like really harsh ones in here. I actually like that clean mix. So this is a really nice way to get like a preset, like we're just testing out different sounds, and does it sound good to my ear? Yes or no, but you can sort of adjust it. And it looks like it's changed a few of the different types of parameters here. So these next 2 parameters, so we've got a limiter and we've got saturation. So a limiter, if you haven't played with one before, what it does is when the signal gets really close to the top, so when it's almost about peaking and causing distortion, which is what we don't want, especially with digital ones, it'll add a bit of compression on the top, so sort of flattening it out so we can get more of those lower sounds and boost them up to like meet that level. But the way the limiter works on here, it's got a few different ways that the attack comes in and the attack comes out. So we've got a little bit more control over there. So we can do things like squishy, which I'm guessing is a slow one, nice and low. So same thing again. We can go through and test each one out as well. And saturation, like with the signal, is you're sort of doing a bit of a boost where it's like boosting that little high end and adding a bit of flavor on the top. So same thing if we like put that on overdrive. I like it on soft clip, but that's what. So it's sort of like the lowest setting and then goes all the way up. So if you don't feel inclined of going in here and doing your own custom setup and like being able to tweak the settings, like you can, but this is a really nice way to just like change the flavor of the sound, get something that you like, and then we can move forward into the arranging. Alright, we're in a really good position right now because we've got our 4 blocks, and this is a really good point to start our arrangement. Now, when it comes to arrangement, there's a little bit of a process or a little bit of a guide that I like to follow. It's sort of creating a contour that we can follow for our energy. Like we build a low energy part, we build a high energy part, and they sort of link together between the A and B, but this is going to allow us to be able to transition between the 2 different steps by managing the energy. So I'm just going to choose a random pattern because this is a unexpected extra sketch. So just going in here, when I'm talking about energy level, like say we've got the position down here and then up here, and say this is our full song. Like usually you start at a very low energy point at the start, and then you like sort of fade out at the end, and then you have these build-ups that go into the main part of the melody. So say this point of the song is like the really high energy part, so it could go something like we start out small and start building up, and then we hit that like first like real big build-up, then we do like an energy spike, and then we start tapering it off during the part, or we can bring it up at the same level. But we've really got that point where it's like we ramp up into the song. So like the blocks on the play, you can sort of treat these as our blocks in the setting. So it's like we have our low energy sections, and then once we're 4 blocks in, we can set up our high energy ones. And like once you come after this part, like you can't really just keep the energy level at the same. Like you can keep rising it and have like power creep, but you want to sort of take it a step back so the people listening have a bit of a breather. You don't want to set it to the start point here, but you can definitely use some of these start elements over here and bring it across. And same thing again, you could go like that, or you could drop it down, so like really like smooth out the transition. But I usually do something where it like builds up again a little bit higher than the start, and then this second part is where I do my big energy stuff. So it could be something like that, really high energy. Maybe I tone it down here and then have a really short ending, depending on how long I want to do it. Maybe I take some of the elements away here, so it's like a little short bridge area. I can bring those up like that. So really, you can use a play like this to do a bit of a drawing to figure out what sort of arrangement you want. And really, it just sits there, so you can sort of reference it later. But let's say I'm going to do something like that for the arrangement. Maybe I just keep it like, yeah, I think that'll be fine. Maybe I'll shift it across. Let's plot this into the pattern area. So come up here. So what I said, I want that low energy point. So I'm just going to go shift and select that. All right, so what I'm going to do is hold, wait till it flashes and bring it down so I can paste it around. So I paste the second block, paste the third block, paste the fourth block. So this is our build up sequence. So right now I want this one to have like as little energy as possible. Just make sure that's filled in. We'll select that one, come up to pattern. We've got everything there, and probably I might just have this as the drum and this pad sound. So if I just mute these, we can test it out first. Yeah, that sounds really good. So what I'm going to do is delete that because I don't want to be fiddling around with the mutes and the soloing. This one we're going to play live. We'll talk about live playing with the other blocks. But if we come back into the pattern, we'll go into the second part. So with this second block, might even be that simple, but we are getting that raising of energy. So right now I'm going to select those two and go delete. So as I said before in the last video, subtractive sequencing, we're just taking stuff away. If you've filled out all of your blocks here, you're definitely going to have a lot more to play around and do some fancy stuff with, but deselect them, go back out to the pattern. So with this one, I might bring in the snare again. So I'm just going to go back into here. Yep, so I'm just going to delete that, and then that last pattern has everything in there, and then we get into that build up. So if we were just to do a short demo, so I'll just get that to flash and put him down there, select that one. If we hold shift and play chain, we're going to hear this whole chain play through. So it might take a bit to explain, like go through the settings, but I might just use this as a way to explain. Right now we are just blocking in the sound, so there might be some nice fades in and fades out that we can do a little bit later. But this is me just testing out the idea to see how much it's flowing. Like right now I feel like I should bring these elements back so I've got more room later in that sequence. So then everything comes in, and then we can have like a high intensity part. So yeah, what I might do is I'm just going to move some of those blocks back. So I think that's fine. But I might bring that one back. So you can just copy and paste from down here. So then we have two blocks of the same stuff here. And just keep in mind, like all those like ratios and stuff that we set up before, that's going to play in this one and move along. But we have that build up of energy, and what I might do is add another one. So we've got a fair chunk of this loop going. And because we add those like points, it's going to randomize some of those notes. But that's getting a bit too repetitive now, so we can start changing up the sound. And I don't want to jump straight to part B yet, like we did some variations and stuff like that, but we might use that variation that we set up in here. So if I select that and shift to that one, so after we made that change, let's listen to this in context. So if we have that selected, we can see it do that transition, and then we can hear that different sound. And then what I might do on this one is remove some things. So I'm just going to copy and paste that one across, just because it's got that already set up there. Go into the pattern and maybe we'll remove that one. So I'm just going to delete that line. Cool, so we're speeding along, and we're going to go to our first major drop section. So this is where, as I said before, we're going to go into that second energy part. So we don't have to cut all the way back. We can leave some elements in there, but I'm going to use this part B one now. So hold that till it flashes, and then we're just going to paste a few of those in, maybe just 3, and then what I'm thinking is I might keep that bass line and the kick and then remove everything else. So I'm just going to cool. So we'll just do that, and we just go delete. And then next one, come into the pattern. Cool, so I'll just delete that one, but with the hi-hat chain, what I might do is just do a bit of a tweak right now, just to make it a little bit less energy, which I'm just going to do by just trimming the sample length a little bit. So it's a little bit snappy, but then I can use the sample decay to make it really snappy. And then probably, because it's a hi-hat, we might remove the low end of it, so it's like really high up. something like that. So I like that, but then it goes into cool. So we got our new build up into the next section, which we are got the part B, and we're just going to paste them a few around. I think we had 4 bars here, so might do something like that. And same thing again, we're going to use the variants to change that one up as well. And just to give it a little bit more energy, like having that chord just play in the background, it's fine, but I think we can add some more energy by actually changing up the sample. So I'm just going to jump into here, go to pattern, we're going to remove that, we're going to remove that, we're going to select that. Random, sample and folder. That's something different. But I wanted to make this sound unique, these 2 little blocks here. So I'm just going to do the same thing again, have everything selected and just throw in a different randomize. Cool. And we're just going to save that. And then the last part was being able to bring it back down into that point there. So something's got to go in this block here. Yeah, something like that. So we'll just, actually what I might do is just use this for that last block there. So what I'm going to do, yep, pattern, and select that and go delete, go back into the pattern, and we will get rid of that one and that one and that one, just so we have no drums and it's just the bass line playing out. So I'm just going to delete them. All right, so we've got all the blocks filled for our song information. We have a nice arrangement going. I'm going to have a listen right now. I don't want to sort of show the whole song yet because there's going to be points where you listen to this and you're going to pick up, hey, that sounds a little bit too jarring or things aren't going to work. But I just want some context right now for myself, and then we'll get into the next part of the tutorial, because really when you get into this final, like the reason why I showed just blocking it in, doing very minimal changes to the patterns themselves, is because you can get caught in that pitch fall of just like, oh, I'm just going to tweak the settings, and you might only get this done in like 3 hours, where if you just block out the song, you got everything there and you're just making the transitions in between. So that's what I'm listening for right now. Alright, so I've just had a listen, and I really recommend having some way to take notes, whether it's digital or some analog, like just having a notepad to take some notes, because one thing I noticed straight away, there's too much of an energy drop in this pattern here, which is just that bass line that. So what I'm going to do is just shift this one and bring it across again, just to overwipe it. And when you're just doing that, remember you do have an undo up here, but also you're not editing any of these. So if you do a pretty massive boo-boo, you can go back to one of these and bring it across. So it's our level. And really what I wanted to do was just remove, because that pad sound has changed and it's going to give some different variants. I'm just going to delete those. Now that we've got everything blocked in, this is the point where I start making the transitions into points. So this is like putting the nice smooth parts and automation into our track. And we can do this on the Polyend play, and this is through the live recording as well. So we actually like live tweaking the sound in that pattern. So it's like this area here, like I think it was this one. I want that like pad sound to like slowly fade in. So I'm going to use the volume for that one. So I'm just going to select it and going to go pattern, and I want to select that channel. All right, so I want to select the volume, and as you can see, I've got the live recording there, but when I hit play, it's going to start running, and I need to have the value set up correctly the first. So I'm going to start with the lowest value because it's going to start from the lowest and go to the highest. Same thing if I'm trying to fade something out, I'll start with the highest and then slowly turn the thing down. So if I turn that down so it's just hitting, and then I hit play and live record, and then bring it up like that. Then we stop it, and then if we play that again, see how that value is kicking in. And then in context, if we come back in here, hold shift and play chain. So that allows us to make a really nice transition from one pattern to another. And I'll be doing this with a few of the different elements. So I think this one I was going to fiddle with that bass line to give it a little bit more of an Angie flick at the end. So doing stuff like that. But as you can see, we have that live recording feature open and we can select stuff here. So we can actually run that play chain and be able to do the live recording. So how would we set that up? This is knowing where your patterns are and keeping everything organized. So I know that bass line is here. So I can do a live recording from a certain point and then keep moving forward. So we can adjust the whole chain and make changes like that. Or everything's ready for live recording. So I've selected that track. I made sure that channel 4 is always where my bass line is. So nothing else is going to be on that track. If I've got leads and that, I just want to make sure that is the same as well. Just because we are going to be jumping between chains, and like we do have an undo function, but we're going to be scrolling through a fair chunk of the song to add some of that live goodness to our track. So I don't want anything to change while I'm doing this. So I'm just going to be gentle with the transitions. I'm going to work from this point here. I've picked a very low sounding sound to start with to start building up that transition, and I want to work it to this point here. So what I need to do, everything's set up, shift and play, and we're going to live record the filter. Cool. So as you probably noticed, it was jumping around because I've already have automation on there. So we're going to go here and then we're going to hit shift play chain, and we can hear that lowness, and then we can hear it slowly build into that higher energy part. So this is a really nice way to bring automation to the play, because we can start tweaking a lot of those variables. So instead of just having one little chain, it's actually extending quite across the whole section of our song. So really, I'm in a really happy point right now. We have our song, I played it live, I do like it. I've had to listen to it a few times. I think when you're at this point, it's really good to like take off the headphones, put them down, go away, make a coffee, come back and have a listen again, because something that sounds good right now might not in 5 minutes later, just with ear fatigue. So that's just one thing. Play it a couple of times, have your notes, take some notes, and then you'll probably end up with a really nice sounding track. So when you got your track, this is where we go to export it. And right now there's a few ways that we can get the sound out. One is we have a nice little field recorder, or way that we can capture the sound. So I just use this zoom here. So you can use that to capture the sounds and get it out there on the internet. Another way, using the device itself, is you come into here, just make sure that you got this selected, and you go File, Export. So you can export that chain as a master or as stems. So this will actually save it into the device. But if you export the master, you'll just get a 2-channel feed. So all the sound combined into 2 channels, and you'll get that file. But if you go export stem, it will actually export every single lane out on this for your song. So you can bring it into a DAW and do that future processing to make the sound. All right, so that took a bit to export, but really it did make that whole chain and put it into SD card. So really you just go press it, take it out and stick it on the computer, and you'll be able to get access to those files. But the last way I want to explain how to export the sound from this thing is being able to directly connect it to a camera. So I'm sort of got this bit of a setup going on. I have a field recorder that goes into my camera up here, but just being able to connect it up, and you can record the video and the audio at the same time, just saves so much of that syncing issue, and being able to put up online and show people. Because I think that's the main thing. you've got this amazing machine here, you've got some really cool musical ideas, and getting it out in front of people is probably the best way to gauge your work, and also listen to how other people are responding to it, because I could sit here like an island and just make music for days, but if it's really just me listening to it, like there's times where I'll just set up these devices like my back room, I have everything playing at once, but I'll turn it off and then no one else gets to experience it. Like that is definitely a feeling, but being able to share it with others and have others listen to it and enjoy it, like that's definitely something worthwhile to feel as well. So if you haven't yet, or you're thinking about, I do recommend having some way or a platform that you can put this stuff on, whether it's just for yourself or a few of your friends. Definitely best way to export this stuff out as well. Alright, we're at that really cool part of the video where I'm just going to demo this thing, but really have a listen to it, see what you think. But this is showing all my little tips to be able to take a few blocks of information and really stretch it out into a really nice arrangement. And like some of those little tips as well, like using it as an extra sketch, like I do like drawing with this thing, but just being able to capture those little ideas, not just instrument stuff and that, but just having that, like I usually use this point of the tracker or play as like my working area. So really I'm just going to select that and let it run. So this is a really good position here, because right now, like if we're playing live and that, we can select that part, hit play, and we have something to play our music. And it's not only just stored on here, you've got ways that you can put it on the internet. So pick your choice of platform that you want to put your music on, you can take this and put it live. So really that's pretty much covering the entire process for this series. However, there's a few more features I want to talk about. The next one is we're going to take those 4 blocks and be able to play it live. So with that, I hope you did enjoy this video, and if you think it's going to help someone else out, definitely give it that thumbs up, because it does tell the algorithm to point to other people that probably got the play and can't find this type of information and would find it useful. And as always, if you have any comments or queries, please feel free to leave them down below. I do go down there and try and answer as many, and I do feel like I glaze over some of the topics when I'm talking about this stuff. And in the end, I do have a bit of Polyend play content on this channel, so if you're looking for some more and you want to go in there, I look forward to seeing you next time.